Those who dream big get the opportunity to make it a reality, even if it's a rat who desires to become a restaurant chef. Inside a small cottage on the outskirts of France, there lives a colony of common rats. But one of them is really special. It's Remy, a young rat with exceptional smell and taste sense. He lives with his brother Emile, who's easily impressed, and his father, who's never impressed. No one admires Remy's talent until he saves everyone from eating poisoned food. Since then, it's been Remy's duty to help the rats recognize safe-to-eat items. Remy's talent has negative consequences too. Due to his advanced sense of taste, he can't eat garbage like other rats and desires to have lunch like the humans. His father forbids him from stealing and warns him of the danger of interacting with humans. Despite that, Remy roams around the cottage where an old woman lives. He finds a strawberry and a piece of cheese, and they taste like heaven. Remy also notices the cooking show running on the television. It's about the famous French chef Auguste Gusteau, who's the owner of a 5-star restaurant. Gusteau inspires Remy to cook different types of food. Remy keeps visiting the living room to watch the show and starts to explore the world of cooking. One day he finds a mushroom and Emile brings a piece of rare cheese. Remy gets really excited and wants to cook the mushroom and cheese with a little bit of rosemary. He doesn't have a stove, so he uses the chimney. Unfortunately, the weather gets cloudy and a clap of thunder hits the rats. Both of them survive, but the mushroom is roasted by the lightning. Remy loves the developed flavor, but he believes something's missing. It's saffron. To find it, they sneak into the kitchen. Emile feels really scared, but Remy assures him that the old lady will not wake up for a few hours. Remy knows that because he keeps sneaking into the kitchen to read the cookbook written by Gusteau. Remy finds saffron, but he notices the news running on the television. His beloved idol has died. The Gusteau restaurant lost 2 stars after the incident and the bad review given by food critic Anton Ego. Remy was lost in the news when the old lady woke up. She shouts loudly on seeing the rats and takes out her gun. She shoots continuously at Remy and Emile. They survive, but the bullets bring down the whole ceiling, revealing the rat colony living up there. They all run to migrate from the places. All the rats get in their emergency boats, but Remy is left behind. He's trying to bring the cookbook along with him. He gets separated from the crew and takes the wrong turn. He waits for a signal from his family for days, but no one shows up. While reading the cookbook, Remy creates an imaginary Gusteau inside his head who encourages him to keep exploring. Remy travels around the drainage and finds a way out. He's in Paris and just a few steps away from Gusteau restaurant. Remy can't believe his eyes and moves further to have a closer look. He hides inside the ceiling and watches the restaurant's kitchen. There's the head chef Skinner, who's supervising everyone in a harsh tone. A young boy named Alfredo comes there looking for a job. His late mother was Gusteau's acquaintance and told Alfredo to give a letter to Skinner. The rude chef doesn't bother to read the letter and hires Alfredo as the garbage boy. The innocent boy doesn't complain and starts working immediately. Alfredo is a little clumsy and he accidentally spills half of the soup. To cover his mistake, Alfredo adds some water and a bunch of random ingredients to the soup. Remy is seeing this all and panics about the soup getting destroyed. He slips on his feet and accidentally falls into the kitchen. He keeps hiding away and looking for an exit. He finally sees an open window near the soup counter, but he can't make himself leave. He wants to fix the soup. Remy cleans his hands and lowers the flame. He starts adding ingredients and brings the soup to a boil. Alfredo notices him and hides Remy under a strainer. He proceeds to taste the soup, but Skinny catches it and accuses him of messing with the soup. While he's scolding Alfredo, the soup is plated and served to the customer. Not just any customer, it's a food critic. She calls the head chef immediately and admires the soup. Everyone is in shock, but Skinny is still against Alfredo. The female chef Colette defends the boy and reminds everyone of Gusteau's cherished motto, "Anyone can cook." Skinny is left speechless, so he accepts Alfredo as a chef, but he needs to cook the same soup again. After everything is settled, Remy tries to escape the scene, but Skinny catches him. He orders Alfredo to dispose of the filthy rat immediately. Alfredo puts Remy in a jar and takes him to drop in the river, but the soft-hearted boy spares Remy's life. He's also trying to figure out what just happened in his life. Alfredo suddenly notices that the rat is nodding to him. He gets really excited and asks if the rat wants to make the soup again. Remy nods and Alfredo lets him out of the jar. Remy runs away at first, but then he changes his decision and walks back. Alfredo takes Remy to his poor little house and tells him to have some rest. The next morning, Alfredo can't find Remy and the food is missing from the refrigerator. He starts to regret his decision to trust a rat, but then he notices Remy cooking breakfast. He has also added some herbs he picked from the neighbor's garden. Alfredo advises him not to steal again. He will buy the spices next time. Alfredo is getting late, so Remy doesn't get a chance to eat anything. As soon as they reach the kitchen, Skinny asks Alfredo to cook the soup again. However, Remy is hungry and he keeps biting to draw attention. Alfredo gets in the walk-in refrigerator and scolds Remy. Seeing the innocent face of the rat, Alfredo realizes he may be hungry and offers him a piece of cheese. One problem is solved, but the other one is even bigger: how Remy is going to cook without getting caught. While trying to figure out a solution, Alfredo finds his hidden talent. His body can be controlled by pulling his hair. Remy can hide under his cap and control Alfredo's body movement, but they must practice a lot. They stay awake all night and practice cooking with Alfredo's eyes covered. The next day, it's time to remake the soup. All the eyes are on Alfredo while he cooks the soup in his weird posture. After he finishes, Skinny tastes the soup and approves. He makes Colette in charge of training Alfredo. She's the only female chef here, and she believes it's because haute cuisine is an antiquated hierarchy built upon rules written by stupid old men. These rules are designed to make it impossible for women to enter this world. But Colette still did it, and she's the toughest chef here. While she trains Alfredo, Skinny gets back to his office and finally reads the letter written by Alfredo's mother. He calls his lawyer immediately because Alfredo is claimed to be Gusteau's illegitimate son. According to the law, if no Gusteau's heirs show up in 2 years, then Skinny will become the restaurant's owner. There are only 2 months left till the deadline, and now Alfredo shows up. The lawyer takes Gusteau's hair from his preserved cap and proceeds to request a DNA test, while Skinny prays that it's all just a scam. Stupid Alfredo never read the letter himself and worked as a garbage boy. Luckily, he's in good hands now. Colette seems tough, but she's a great teacher and helps Alfredo learn all the tips and tricks of the kitchen. She also reveals that none of the chefs in the kitchen are professionals. One of them ran from his home when he was 12, the second one was fired from a circus, and the others also had unfortunate pasts. But they ended up working at a top kitchen because Gusteau believed anyone can cook. However, he wouldn't have thought a rat could do it too. Days pass by peacefully, and Alfredo's soup is a great hit. However, the customers want to try something else now, but it must be prepared by Alfredo. Skinny senses it as a good chance to fire Alfredo. He gives him the most difficult recipe, which even Gusteau couldn't master. Colette advises Alfredo to follow the recipe, but he's controlled by Remy, who believes the recipe needs to be altered. Colette scolds him for making the improvised sauce, but Remy forces Alfredo to put it on the plate. The dish gets out, and voila, it's loved by everyone. All the other customers start ordering Alfredo's special too. At the end of the day, the chefs celebrate their success with a toss. Alfredo also rewards the real hero and gives Remy a hearty meal. Skinny wants to find Alfredo's secret and offers a glass of wine. He makes him drunk, but Alfredo doesn't spit a word about the rat. Meanwhile, Remy finds his lost brother and steals from the kitchen to feed him. He also goes to visit his colony, but he still wants to return to the restaurant. His father takes him to a shop that displays dead rats and poisons to kill them. Remy refuses to accept this reality. He wants to create his own future and make a difference in the world. When Remy returns to the kitchen, he finds Alfredo sleeping on the floor. Skinny made him work all night. Remy pulls his hair and tries to wake him up. Colette reaches the kitchen and slaps Alfredo for ignoring her. The slap wakes him and he tries to explain things to Colette. He's about to tell her about the rat, so Remy pushes him to kiss Colette. Surprisingly, she doesn't push him away as she likes him too. Meanwhile, Skinny has received the DNA test report and the truth is revealed. He decides to keep Alfredo's identity a secret and let the deadline pass. Unaware of such big news, Alfredo is busy being the lover boy. He's distracted in the kitchen and gives priority to Colette's suggestion over Remy's. He even drops Remy in the middle of the road while going out with his girlfriend. Remy hardly saves himself from the cruel world and realizes where he stands for humans. He's just a filthy rat. When he returns to the kitchen, he finds Emile and his friends. They want more of the good food. The refrigerator is locked, so Remy goes to Skinny's office to find the key. There, he gets his hands on Gusteau's will and the DNA report. But Skinny spots him and rushes to get back the documents. Remy gets out of the kitchen and runs on the roads. He even jumps on a boat, but Skinny keeps following him. Finally, Remy succeeds in getting away, and Skinny falls in the water. When he returns to the restaurant, everyone has already discovered the truth. Skinny is kicked out, and Alfredo takes over the restaurant. The news spreads like fire, and the media crowds the restaurant. Alfredo says the cooking skills are in his blood, and his inspiration is Colette. This makes Remy angry, but he can't do anything. The famous food critic Anton Ego also reaches there. He hated Gusteau and wanted his restaurant to shut down. Now, seeing the popularity, he asks Alfredo to try impressing him. Chaos rises in the kitchen as everyone is giving their best to prepare to serve Anton the next day. Remy has ideas, but Alfredo prefers listening to Colette. He carries the rat out of the kitchen and refuses to be his puppet. Remy feels deceived after all the efforts he did. Before having a second thought, he decides to take revenge. He tells Emile to bring the whole colony. They are going to have a feast this midnight. They all attack the kitchen and get their paws on all the food in sight. Suddenly, Alfredo reaches there and the rats hide away. Alfredo apologizes to Remy for denying his efforts. He believes he would have been just a garbage boy if Remy wasn't here. Little does he know Remy has rebelled already. Alfredo hears some crawling and turns on the refrigerator's lights. It's full of filthy rats. He shouts at Remy for breaking his trust and kicks him out of the kitchen. The next day, everyone at the restaurant gets ready to serve Anton ego. He doesn't pick a dish and asks Alfredo to serve him the best. Meanwhile, Remy is missing cooking, but Emile advises him to move on. He invites him to search the garbage, but Remy notices a mouse trap and saves Emile. But he gets stuck in the cage himself. It's Skinny who caught him. He wants Remy's skills to launch his frozen food series. Remy lies there in disappointment and regret while his imaginary Gusto keeps encouraging him to follow his passion. Fortunately, his brother came to his rescue. His father is here too, and he wants Remy to be a cook if he loves it so much. Remy rushes to the kitchen to just see a mess there. Everyone is ordering Alfredo's signature dishes, and he doesn't know how to cook any of them. One of the chefs notices the rat and proceeds to kill it, but Alfredo gets in the way. He reveals the whole truth and requests everyone to believe in Remy's talent. None of the chefs wants to be part of this disaster and leaves with all the staff. Even Colette walks away. Alfredo gives up and hides in his office. Remy still wants to give it a go, but he needs a hand. There when family comes in handy. His father calls the whole colony. Half of them get after the food inspector while the others get sanitized to start working. The kitchen is under Remy's supervision. Alfredo gets there too and takes the place of the waiter. Colette returns to help and asks what Remy wants to serve Anton. He chooses a peasant dish called ratatouille. The dish is served and Anton is shocked to see such a mediocre choice. He takes a bite anyway, but it sends him back to childhood, the time when he used to come home after a hard day and his mother served him food. That's how the dish tastes. He requests to meet the chef, but Colette replies that's only possible after all the other guests leave. Later that night, Alfredo reveals the whole truth and introduces Remy. Anton doesn't say a word and leaves. His review is published the next day. He believes that food critics write negative comments just to get attention without caring about the chef's efforts. He was also one of them, but now his perspective has changed. He finally agrees with Gusteau saying, anyone can cook. Anton looks forward to getting served by the ratatouille chef again. Regardless of the great review, the restaurant gets shut down because of hygiene issues. Anton also loses his job for speaking so much truth, but in the end, everything is back on track. Remy and Alfredo have opened their own restaurant, both for humans and rats. But their VIP customer is Anton Ego. Never let anyone else tell you your limits. The only thing that limits you is your own mind. If you can imagine it, then you can achieve it too.